What if I told you that Prismatic Titan isn't as bad as you think? With this build, you have the ability to gain an immense amount of Transcendence energy, amazing survivability, and controlling entire rooms, whether that be low-end or high-end PvE. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the build. Now there are two big components to this, one of them being Abeyant Leap. These exotic leg armors helps improve our Drenger's Lash, helps the projectiles track more aggressively, and any target that we suspend helps us gain Woven Mail. The second one is going to be Aegir Scepter. Now you guys might have forgotten about this gun, but in just a moment I'm going to tell you why we're picking this one in just a second. Now jumping into the actual prismatic subclass, we're going to be picking Hammer of Soul. Now to be honest with you, this super is pretty boo-boo without your sunspots. So we're just going to be using it for a fragment I'm going to be talking about later in the video. Next, for the class ability, we're going to be picking Rally Barricade. If we compare this to the Towering Barricade, it's on a much shorter cooldown, so this should be a no-brainer. Now there might be some of you asking, hey, why don't you use Thruster? It seems fun. Well, with Thruster and Drenger's Lash paired, it kind of just leaves a piece of poop and suspends anything where you kind of pooped. And this isn't really as cool as you might think, comparing this to the actual Barricade version of Drenger's Lash. So don't pick that. With the jumps, I don't really care what you use. And the melee we're going to be using is Thunderclap. Now, this got a massive buff where the longer you charge this, you get a ton of damage resist. On top of Woven Mail and a Giga Power Punch, this is pretty insane. Then we're going to be taking Shackle Grenade just to give us another way to suspend and get Woven Mail at the same time. Now the first aspect we're going to take is Knockout, as this is honestly the best Titan aspect that they have, as it allows us to get an increase in melee damage, increases the range of the melee, and whenever we break a shield or get someone critically wounded, our normal melee counts as a charged melee, and if we get a kill with that melee, we get our health back. This aspect is just absolutely stacked, and there's no reason why you shouldn't pick it. The next one is obviously Drenger's Lash, and I explained it pretty well, but if you still don't understand, whenever you pop your class ability, you send out a wave that suspends anything in its way. Moving on to the fragments, I'm using Facet of Devotion. This reads, defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs grant bonus light transcendence energy. And you can probably see from the gameplay, with all the suspend and stasis slows from Aegir Scepter, thunderclapping into all of that will grant you so much light energy since we're already doing so much darkness energy. Next one up is Facet of Courage, and basically your light abilities do more damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. The suspend and the stasis slows or freezes count, and once again, thunderclapping into all of that is some major damage. The third one's going to be Facet of Protection, and while you're surrounded by combatants, you're more resistant to incoming damage, and when you're transcendent, this effect is increased. Now, when we suspend everyone with our barricade or a grenade, all their panties are going to be down, and we need some protection while we're fisting all of them in the air. And this one's pretty nice just to keep yourself safe, because sometimes even with Woven Mail, things might get a little hairy in there. Moving on from that, we're using Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grant melee energy, and rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grant grenade energy. Now, since we're using Aegir Scepter, we're going to get a lot more suspend grenades from doing that, and in the suspend, we're just going to thunderclap that, or use a light damaging weapon, which gives us our thunderclap even faster. Now to be honest, I've been interchanging this with other fragments just to have more fun. For example, Facet of Hope to get my class ability even faster, or Facet of Justice just to see shit blow up when I'm transcendent. Then last but not least, Facet of Purpose. Basically picking up an orb gives you your survivability tool based on the super you're using. Since we're using Sunbreaker, we get Restoration on top of Woven Mail. Now with this episode's artifact, we have Galvanic Armor, which when we're amplified, we get another layer of damage reduction, so adding on something like Frost Armor or Overshield is kind of redundant in my opinion, since Woven Mail and Amplified are good enough. But I'm just some random guy on the internet, so if you want to use a different super, feel free to. Now moving on to the weapons of choice, obviously we're going to be using a Receptor. To explain how this gun works in Titan terms, when you get a kill, it refunds the magazine and also emits a slowing field. Now if you've been reading the artifact perks, Creeping Chills works really well with this gun, since Stasis weapon final blows against slowed or frozen targets release another slowing burst, which means if there's anybody around who you killed, they're gonna get insta-frozen and shatter, and it's gonna chain. Now aside from that, the catalyst is the most important thing when using this gun, and basically when you hold down the reload button, it drains the super energy and does like a giga kamehameha that slows and freezes targets until the magazine either runs out or the super energy is gone. And since I mentioned that Sunbreaker is a really bad super on Prismatic, we're not gonna use it anyways, so you might as well just drain the super meter and just blast everything in your path that's suspended or whatever. Now I like using double special, so I like using either Forbearance for the chain reactions on any suspended target or Indebted Kindness to jolt anything that's suspended. And Indebted Kindness is pretty cool since you can kind of make your own makeshift transcendent grenade, because you can just suspend, shoot one thing and jolt everything that's suspended. For the heavy weapon, you can honestly use whatever. I've been enjoying Cataphract since I have an envious cascade point roll, and I like blowing my load on dudes and doing this. Pause. For the helmet, I like using Stasis Siphon just to get more orbs, and a hands-on mod. Last slot is up to you. For the arms, I'm running heavy-handed, bolstering detonation, and focusing strike just to get my class ability faster. The chest piece, I don't really know, just use whatever. I'm using charged up just cuz. Installation on the legs, so when you do pick up an orb, you get your class ability faster, stacks on stacks, and a recuperation mod just to get a chunk of health back. You'll want powerful attraction on the mark just so you can automatically pick up orbs when you pop your class ability, and this procs restoration and recuperation. Reaper, so then when you did pop it, you get an orb back on the next kill. Then I'm running special finisher. You're free to use whatever you want like bomber or outreach, but I'm running double special, so this makes sense for me. Now for the artifact setup, this is how I have it going. Make sure you have creep and chill on like I mentioned before, and galvanic armor. Now one of the important ones is going to be shield crush, since we're always going to have woven mail, and this gets our melee back way quicker and does more damage, and we're always amplified, so we get more grenade. And then transference to get even more damage on our melee, and weapon final blows while transcendent refund light and dark energy after transcendent ends, so it's kind of like a cycle. Now in the most simple way of explaining how to play the build, I usually engage with a suspend grenade and then a thunderclap, and if they're not dead, I use a barricade, shoot everyone with Aegir Scepter, and once I kill one, it will slow the other and chain freeze everyone, and if they're still not dead, I swap to my other secondary, build a light energy or darkness energy, whichever one I need, and by this time, if I don't have my abilities back, I'll use my transcendence and kill everyone that way, and if they're still not dead and have my super, I just blast them that way. This build is really tanky and keeps you on your toes, as while you're suspending you gain crazy damage reduction, and popping your barricade if you made orbs around you gives you restoration. And yeah, so if you enjoyed this Titan build, I have two other builds, one for Warlock and one for Hunter on the channel, so if you haven't already, go check that out, and comment down below if you like this build and are tired of the Consecration and Glacier Nade combo. But with that being said, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Peace and love, baby.